Does it feel like your chronic pain is all in your head? Are conventional treatments just not working for you? If so, you're in the right place. Because in this video, I am going to break down the phenomenon known as pain centralization or central sensitization. And by the end, you will hopefully find some relief and comfort in the fact that this is not all in your head, but will also have a better direction on where treatments need to be focused in the future. Does it feel like your chronic pain is all in your head? You're not alone, but there is a very real explanation for why this is, and it's called pain centralization or central sensitization, and we're going to break it down right now. To fully understand pain centralization or central sensitization, we first have to understand how normal pain processing works. So, say you stub your toe. Ouch. A nociceptor, which is a pain receptor in your toe, gets stimulated, which causes a nerve impulse to travel up that peripheral nerve all the way up your leg to your spinal cord and all the way up to your brain where it is processed as pain. But the thing is, nerves only fire at one intensity, and that's 100%. It's all or nothing. So as long as you're stimulating a nerve, it is firing with everything it has. But you might be asking yourself, then why do different pains feel different? So if you were to bump your elbow, that feels very different than stubbing your toe. And the reason for it is a process called descending inhibition. In your spinal cord are what we call inhibitory interneurons. And these neurons act as the gatekeeper of pain, deciding how much of that nerve signal to actually let through to your brain to be processed as pain. So when you stub your toe and you bump your elbow, you have the same intensity of nerve firings, except for with your elbow, there are a lot of inhibitory interneurons that get activated, only allowing a little bit of pain to get through. But with your toe, only a few inhibitory interneurons fire, allowing a lot more pain to get up to your brain. And the reason why is your brain's perception of threat to life. So things hurt more when your brain perceives them as being more threatening to your life. Bumping your elbow, obviously not a big threat to your life. Stubbing your toe, okay, now we're going to start to cross into the argument of sometimes your brain gets it wrong, and this is a hallmark of chronic pain. Pain centralization is quite literally the process by which your central nervous system, your brain and spinal cord, take over the processing of your pain. And that's where it gets its name. Central nervous system, central sensitization, pain centralization. So instead of a nociceptor being stimulated and a peripheral nerve firing and you experiencing pain, instead, now that pain lives in your spinal cord. Your spinal cord is the one guessing when pain is going to arise and your threat to life in any given situation. And the process is very similar to muscle memory. So think about walking or driving your car. You don't actually think about these processes, right? You're not stopping and thinking about each little step and movement. You just do it. And that's thanks to your spinal cord. But now in this case, it's working against you and it is incorporating pain into muscle memory. So if you were sitting down once and you stood up too quickly and it caused a lot of low back pain, your brain and spinal cord are going to remember that so that the next time you're sitting, it's preparing for tissue damage. It's preparing for threat to life, and it is going to cause you pain, whether it should or not. And again, this is just a protective measurement because chronic pain is quite literally the brain getting it wrong. It is perceiving a threat to life that doesn't exist. So in my clinical experience, every single chronic pain sufferer has some degree of pain centralization, and most of them don't even know it. And the reason is multifactorial. One, there's no labs or images to test for this. Two, there's no conventional treatment for it. You can't take a pill or have a surgery to fix this. And three, which is tough to say, is that I think a lot of doctors just either don't know about it or they don't accept it, which is wild because it is very well understood and accepted in the medical literature. So your chronic pain is not all in your head, but it is really close. It is all in your spinal cord. And next, we're going to describe all the mechanisms for why pain centralization can happen. So there are different mechanisms by which pain centralization occurs. They're physical, biochemical, and emotional. The physical changes that occur is that the expression of your DNA actually changes to produce more pain receptors in your body and decrease the amount of opioid receptors in your body so that you will feel more pain regardless of the stimulus. The second thing is your sensory homunculus actually changes. Now, your sensory homunculus is a map of your physical body that lives in your brain, and it is proportional to the amount of sensory receptors found throughout your body. So your lips, your face, and your hands are really large on this sensory homunculus, while your back and your legs are really small because there's a lot more sensory receptors in your lips, face, hands, and much fewer in your back and legs. So your sensory homunculus morphs to make the area of pain larger. So if you have low back pain, your sensory homunculus gets much larger in your low back to draw more attention to that area. And then finally, your dorsal root ganglions change to become more hyperexcitable. This is a spot very near your central nervous system, basically where your peripheral nerves and spinal cord meet are the dorsal root ganglion, and that is a very important part of pain processing. So again, those become much more hyperexcitable, and you just feel more pain when you really shouldn't because of the descending inhibition pathway. If it's feeling like your chronic pain is all in your head, well, there are biochemical reasons behind pain centralization that we've been talking about. Most notably is the decrease in serotonin, norepinephrine, and dopamine. These neurotransmitters are integral in the descending inhibition pathway. They help regulate it, notably keeping the amount of inhibitory interneurons up and active. There's also an increase in the excitatory neurotransmitter glutamate. So more glutamate is going to mean more pain signals get past those inhibitory interneurons and get to your brain so that you experience more pain. If it's feeling like your chronic pain is all in your head, just know that there are also emotional drivers behind the pain centralization that we have been talking about. Most notably are adverse childhood experiences, ACEs, PTSD, catastrophizing thoughts, and abnormal amounts of stress and anxiety have all been linked to increased pain centralization or central sensitization. And this is important because mind-body counseling is an integral part in the chronic pain treatment process. And if you are not utilizing it, you might be missing a big avenue to healing. So there you have it, pain centralization, why it feels like your chronic pain is all in your head. But now you have the physiology to explain why that isn't true. Chronic pain is very treatable, but only when you have the right diagnosis and the proper care.